Well, people are able to say just about anything these days. That was the response from the FCC chairman of all people. He offered that after late show host Stephen Colbert's rant against Donald Trump, which caused a lot of controversy this week. Late night, of course, has always been a place where a president can expect some jabs. But the tone across the board has changed so much that we wanted to take a look back at how we got here.
Can you believe a drug scandal in the White House? That's the only high the Carter administration has had in 18 months.
This is my daily brief from one of my top foreign policy advisors.
All right, Governor, once again, the category is world leaders.
What is it about New York that you think requires the most immediate attention?
The Knicks.
I'm not going to take that as an opportunity to make a bunch of jokes. I'm just saying that Donald Trump doesn't want to be slapped with soft Canadian wood.
The only thing your mouth is good for is being Vladimir Putin's holster.
So here now, the host of MediaBuzz with his thoughts on all of this, Fox News Channel's Howard Kurtz. Howard, good to see you tonight. I remember seeing the Jerry Ford jokes where he was, kept bumping his head all the time on things, but there was always sort of, it was a little bit more in good fun. And I'm sure that, in those times, we would see some of this and think, oh, my goodness, I can't believe they just said that about the president. But now that has gone to a whole new place. And I'm curious what you think as a media observer, an expert media observer, about why that is and how we got there.
Well, the culture used to be somewhat tame. Remember guys like Johnny Carson and Jay Leno? I mean, they would poke fun at Republicans and Democrats. You didn't necessarily know that they had an ideology. Now, in the Trump era, I mean, we saw just a little bit of that. It's like everybody's competing to be on the same Trump-bashing channel. Stephen Colbert is leading the pack. That's how he dug himself out of last place with a nightly barrage of anti-Trump humor. We've also got Samantha Bee, who was down here in Washington to stage an anti-Trump show the night of the White House Correspondents' Dinner. John Oliver, Trevor Noah trying to get out of the shadow of Jon Stewart, Seth Meyers. Everybody except Jimmy Fallon seems to think that they can play to half the country, the half that they think doesn't like this president.
Let's take a look at Stephen Colbert's response last night. Here's what he said.
I had a few choice insults for the president in return. I don't regret that. I believe he can take care of himself. I have jokes. He has the launch codes. So, it's a fair fight. So while I would do it again, I would change a few words that were cruder than they needed to be.
So what do you think about that?
The only words that Stephen Colbert should have changed is he should have added "I'm sorry" to that lame non-apology in which he just seemed to be kind of doubling down on what was a gratuitously offensive sex joke about the President of the United States. And, he's a talented comedian. I've been on the air with him. This was beneath him. And, by the way, CBS also needs to address whether it should allow this kind of garbage on the air, because this is a pre-taped show. So some suit at CBS thought this was okay to air. It wasn't something that was blurted out. It was scripted.
So I think, that some people would say that we got to this sort of dialogue, that the president kind of helped us get here. That some of the vulgarity that he spoke in the past, that was well documented during the course of the election, is part of what put us in the dialogue that we're in right now. Is that fair or not fair?
Well, certainly President Trump during the campaign, did a lot of finger-in-the-eye insults, and you could say that, especially on Twitter, that added to the tone, the adversarial tone that we have now. But I just think, regardless of what you think about Donald Trump, whether you think he's a great president or a terrible president, you have to respect the office. And I think,
what about the deface the nation comment, which set this whole thing off? What do you think about that?
When the president said deface the nation, and then he kind of got into a scrap with John Dickerson. Look, the president is entitled to defend himself in an aggressive interview. I think John Dickerson did his job. But there is something about the tone and the very highly personal nature of it. I mean, Trump can take care of himself. Colbert's right. He can give it back. But, here's a perfect example. Jimmy Kimmel had this incredibly heartfelt monologue about his son almost dying, and yet he needed to throw in a swipe at Trump and a pitch for Obamacare. It's all becoming politicized in a way that I think we've lost something from the previous culture.
Howie Kurtz, thank you, Howie. Good to see you.